guys, I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm going to explain the Shadow Bean theory, which I came up with. I gotta point out that Killer Bean's old, but it isn't that old. But it's just old enough that I can't find anyone who's as invested in Killer Bean, who's still as invested in Killer Bean as I am, so you're trying to figure things out in Killer Bean like I am, then just tell me, because I need to know. But first, there's not much to know about the Shadow Agency, so it's pretty mysterious. But this one video here, Killer Bean vs. Jet Bean Extended Ultra Edition, provides a lot of clues to that matter. In the opening scene, we can see Jet Bean lying on a table inside of a pool, and then this astral projection looking on. It doesn't end on the wall back here, you can see, and the background is a snowy mountain, so that's the current location of the Shadow Agency, even though they can teleport every 4 hours now. So that's where we know. And my theory is that this is Vegan. If you want to know how, well, I'll tell you. So Vegan, the Shadow Agency isn't just a group of beings. In fact, the Shadow Agency is a bunch of separate beings. And the reason I think that is because, well, Jet Bean was revived at the end of the film, after he gets killed by Killer Bean. It pretty much shows him waking up. This is the pool from the other angle. There's a pillar in the back, and then he wakes up. You just have to watch this. And so my theory is that Jet Bean was meant to lose against Killer Bean because he could always just be revived, which means they sent him. And also, have you ever wondered why Killer Bean was always wearing red? Well, that's because he wasn't meant to be like the one that wearing black like all the other Shadow Beans, because he was the focus. After figuring out his personality, there's another video that says Killer Bean tries Shadow Bean driving school, and well, he's still wearing red. So they told him that he was there to pick up the trash in the world, one bullet at a time. And that's what he ended up doing. In fact, they knew he would quit the Shadow Bean Agency. They hired him to kill Vegan, or I guess sent him to kill Vegan, but they didn't do anything because, well, Vegan is the Shadow Bean leader, so they sent him to kill one of his physical copies. Because, as you know, this projection or whatever this is, isn't his physical form. If I pause at like the right moment, you can try to see the chest pieces, like the same as Vegan's armor right here. Yeah, it's not easy to see, but it's like it's like the same armor. Like bulletproof vest, you can see the curve. And the same glasses, not as buff, but like he made a bunch of buff clones. Vegan was gonna die to Killer Bean, that was planned, or at least the copy was. And they would send Jet Bean, which is the final Shadow Bean test. If the Shadow Bean, which is Killer Bean, can beat Jet Bean, then he becomes a Shadow Bean, the independent beans that are going around town. And that means, and they could always just revive Jet Bean, so there's only 2 actual beings in the Shadow Agency that are part of the group, and that's Vegan and Jet Bean. So, there is also a clone theory, because the fact that they show Jet Bean lying in the table before and after the fight, that almost assumes like the 2 events are happening at the same time, because basically, when the Shadow Bean guy leaves the room, because you can see he turns and leaves, it's almost like he's going to the prison cell to find his dead body. So there almost might be 2 Jet Beans, because he finds Jet Bean's dead body, he's like, what the heck is this? And then while he's gone to find the clone, this guy wakes up. So there's also that theory. Okay, so to add to the theory, this is what Vegan looks like, with the same armor and stuff like that. And then when you see this Shadow Bean walk through the wall over here, it's kind of hard to see, but like he does have the same chest pieces. It's just like, oh, I got it for a split second. Yeah, it even has that little curve at the end. Same with Vegan, which is why I think that. Also, that Jet Bean is still a regular Shadow Bean, which means he can be employed for missions, which is why at first when the Shadow Bean leader called Jet Bean, he said, oh, you should assign someone else. But as soon as he figured out that it was about the final test, then he complied and was like, okay, I'll be in Beantown. Which means if Jet Bean was going to Beantown, that means that's also where the Shadow Bean base is. Because, well, if Jet Bean's going to Beantown, and Jet Bean can be alive, unless the Jet Bean clone theory is true, then the Shadow Bean base should be in Beantown at the time of the Killer Bean mission. But they probably left as soon as that was done. And then there's probably like a code name that like means, oh yeah, final test on Killer Bean or whatever. That was until I looked through the comments to see if anyone had any information, and someone did. Turns out that in the description it says that it's a mysterious new Shadow Bean, which completely debunks the theory because Vegan's not new, nor is he a Shadow Bean, or at least in the movie he's not a Shadow Bean. Well, either they mean that it's new in terms of the fact that this guy is a Shadow Bean, or he's new as that the very being he is, because even if he said physical copies of himself, as well, Vegan from the movies, then this glitchy version of him is still new, even though it's the same person. So to most theorists, it might just completely debunk the theory that this isn't in fact Vegan, but I still think it is, because why would they say that because like Vegan said that they sent shadow beans after him twice in this giant monologue, and both of them failed, which are probably referring to other beings he did the experiment on. Because he didn't say that he killed them, he said they failed, which means they probably died to Jet Bean, because every Shadow Bean was meant to kill Vegan, but only the good ones, Killer Bean, was able to kill Jet Bean. So that's how they're collecting, making sure that only the best beans go out into like society and stuff like that. But if any of you guys have any more intel on the Shadow Bean theory, just tell me, because it'll be really useful for me to know, even if it's groundbreaking evidence that disproves the theory. So, and like going through this wall, he doesn't have any struggles. It's just, which means this isn't in fact Vegan. He's not a physical copy. He's almost like a program, so he can go anywhere whenever he wants. And another reason why I think the base of Shadow Beans is in Beantown is because beforehand, like I said, it shows him leaving and it shows him being here right at the length of the battle. So I assume this is before. This is before the whatchamacallit. This is before Jet Bean was employed, which means it's and then this whatever. But he leaves and comes here in a small amount of time, which means it's probably close to the Beantown prison or somewhere along there. So that's my theory on the Shadow Agency. Thank you for watching. Kill that one who's spot.